Today, we are very honored to have Congressman Tom Emmer, STA class of 1979. As with recent tradition, when we introduce a graduate as a speaker, we like to go over his accomplishments as a cadet. Congressman Emmer was nicknamed T, or Tommy E, by his senior buddies. He was a cadet captain and played varsity football and varsity hockey. He was an all-conference selection in hockey as well. Additionally, he was a member of the crack drill squad. After SDA, he attended the University of Alaska Fairbanks, where he played Division I hockey. He graduated in 1984 with a degree in political science. Additionally, he received his Juris Doctor from William Mitchell College of Law in 1988. After practicing law for several years, Tom followed his entrepreneurial calling and opened his own law firm. The next 20 years were spent balancing family, business, hockey coaching, and serving on the city councils in Independence and Delano. In 2004, he was elected to the Minnesota House of Representatives and re-elected by overwhelming majorities in 2006 and 2008. After an extremely narrow loss in the 2010 gubernatorial race, Tom entered the radio business as a conservative radio host on Twin Cities News Talk AM 1130. And his show became a favorite for conservatives across Minnesota. Congressman Tom Emmer was sworn in for his first term in the U.S. House of Representatives on January 6, 2015. He met his true love, a girl from Arden Hills named Jackie Samuel, and they married in 1986. Today, they are blessed with 7 children, 6 boys and 1 girl. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Tom Emmer, STA class of 1979.
You know, I thought I'd been humbled the most yesterday when I was up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and I walked into a meeting and the lady at the door said, I asked them, how would I know who Tom Emmer is? And they told me, he's tall and middle-aged. But you've actually beat that now today. I know I'm in the right place. And before I get started, I just want to tell you, I write my own material. And Cadet Quinlan, you actually read a quote that both of us pulled from the same Woodrow Wilson speech. And I've got some things that I do want to cover with you today very quickly, but I just want to tell you, as I was sitting down this morning at about 4:30 a.m. thinking about what I want to talk to these guys about, I kept coming back to the fact that this is not St. Thomas Academy. This is a leadership school. You are building the world's future leaders every day in this building, and you just proved it to me once again. I wish that we could bottle up whatever it is here at St. Thomas Academy and share it all over Minnesota and, frankly, all over the country. So, with that, my little segue off, now I'm going to come back. I want to thank Lieutenant Colonel DePulio. Where are you? Right here. Thank you for doing this. Matt Mose, thanks for rearranging the schedule so that I could be here today. This is really a thrill. I came in through that front door and the young man took me to the headmaster's office and I tried to go the other way. Those of you that are old enough to remember how it used to be designed, I was headed to Bill Culbertson's office. I think it was the Dean of Discipline that I was going down to see. But I want to thank you for making this possible. And I want to recognize, as I just did about this leadership school, we got to recognize the fact that I am standing in not only one of the best schools in the state of Minnesota, and frankly, and I better, before I leave this, I'll be in trouble. Can you say hello to my mom and dad who decided to show up today? Thanks, Mom, Dad. Thanks for coming out. I have great memories of this place, and thank you. not only am I standing in one of the greatest schools in Minnesota, but in my opinion, perhaps in the country, I'm standing in front of the St. Thomas Academy cadets, the players, the coaches, and the student body that is going to invade the TCF Bank Stadium this Saturday to win our first state high school football championship since 1975. Now, you heard I'm a 1979 graduate, but what's important is I was there. I was a freshman in 1975 here at St. Thomas Academy, and I was there as the cadets beat. You were there too, Pat. We were both there. Several of us were there, but we were there to see St. Thomas beat whatever their mascot is, those hated kids from St. Peter, but that's in the old days. There you go. I like that. All right, I want to give a special shout out because you heard I was a member of the crack drill squad. It's one of my favorite experiences at St. Thomas Academy. I want to give a shout out to Commander John Widener, I think you call him Gus, and all the members of the crack drill squad. Where are you? Oh, here we go with the Seuss again. Yeah, all right. Now, just so you know, I mean, it goes way beyond that, because I could recognize the cadet soccer team that had a great year. I could recognize your National Merit Scholars, which seem to appear year after year. I should recognize the STA Experimental Vehicle Team, your incredible ACT scores. It's almost like we're raising robots in this place. You do a great job. All of you, and everybody that teaches here and everybody that runs this great institution. The list goes on and on. Congratulations to all of you, and thanks for inviting me. So, it's an honor to serve in Congress, but it is really special to be invited to be a part of a celebration like this, especially here at St. Thomas Academy, to honor and never forget our military veterans. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the same quote, but I'm going to take you through a little of history, because this is what happened to me this morning. So what is this day? As I was sitting there at 4:30 this morning, we call it Veterans Day. And if you do a little research, as you heard from young Mr. Quinlan, you will find that Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day. And as he told you, it was established in 1919 after World War I and the Treaty of Versailles. Originally, you might find it interesting to know, I did, little sidelight, that President Wilson thought that this celebration called Armistice Day should simply involve the suspension of business for a 2-minute period beginning at 11 a.m., with the day marked by parades and public meetings. In 1938, Armistice Day became a federal holiday. In 1954, President Eisenhower signed legislation to change the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day, and since 1975, the celebration of Veterans Day has always been on November 11th, because as was left out, it started on November 11th. There was a period where somebody tried to change it, but now it will always be November 11th, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. So why am I giving you a history of Veterans Day? I'll tell you why. Because as I prepared for today, as I thought about what could I ever say to these guys that they might actually care about, I had to ask myself, why do we celebrate Veterans Day? Why does it matter? You know, you and I, we're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky to have been born into this country. I've had an opportunity to travel a bit, and I can assure you, after having visited places in Africa, Vietnam, and Cuba, you and I, we have it pretty darn good. Is our country perfect? No. No, but then what is? And yes, not all Americans have an easy life. But when compared to the rest of the world, and specifically to some of the places I've just mentioned, we have it pretty good. And why? Have you ever wondered why? I have. Why do we live in the greatest free country the world has ever known? Yes, it's because we're free. And yes, it's because the men and women who founded this nation carefully designed a system of self-governance to protect and promote freedom and the right of every American to self-determine. to be the best we can possibly be. But it's also because America, the nation you and I were fortunate enough to be born into, has been willing to protect the light of freedom here at home and around the globe. Yes, America as a nation has been willing to protect freedom. But it is the few, the brave Americans who have actually served our country in times of war and peace that have made and make it possible for you and me to live safely every day and to exercise our freedom here at home and around the globe. That's what this day is all about. It's about honoring those men and women who have served our country in the military to protect our freedom and freedom for everyone around the world. How many of you, if I can just ask the question, how many of you have family that have served in our military? Could you raise your hands? Moms, dads, grandparents, great-grandparents, uncles, aunts. How many of you have loved ones that are currently serving in our armed forces? Could you raise your hands? I do want to ask, how many of you that are here today have already answered the call and you have enlisted and you'll be going in after you graduate? Is there anybody here? All right. Well, the last one, if you care to be recognized, how many of you, or I should ask, has anyone here today lost a friend or a loved one in service to our country? Could you raise your hand? Thank you. These, ladies and gentlemen, these are the people we remember and honor today. We must never forget their sacrifice. From the trenches of World War I to the liberation of Paris to the dangerous streets of Fallujah, our American soldiers have been there. We, you and I, are able to sleep safe at night because of the service and sacrifice that our military veterans and their families have made. In my humble opinion, today, too many people in this country take their freedom for granted. Too many people have no idea what it would be like to live in a country without the freedoms that you and I enjoy. The freedom of speech, the freedom to travel, the freedom to associate with whomever you wish, and a whole lot more. More importantly, there are people who do not understand or appreciate the sacrifice of our founders and those who have come before us. The sacrifice to create a country based on the premise that all men and women are created equal. A country where we understand that all men and women are endowed by our Creator with the unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Some simply do not appreciate that freedom is not free. Fortunately, we have people in our country who not only understand and appreciate these simple facts, but they have been willing to serve and sacrifice, some with their lives, to defend our precious freedoms and the greatest free country the world has ever known. Today, Veterans Day, we honor our country's commitment that these soldiers, our veterans, will never be forgotten, and that we always remember not only their service and the sacrifice that they and their families have made on our behalf, but the reason for their sacrifice: to protect the light of freedom for this generation and generations yet to come. Thank you again so much for inviting me today. May God bless all of you, and may God continue to bless this great country, the United States of America. Thanks.